Hello all. I've been meaning to talk about this for a while, but I've parked it a few times because I know what happens if you dare criticise anything to do with Black Panther.
There's some rumors that have been going around about me that I thought Black Panther was a terrible movie. So if, you feel like there's a need to come after me, to get back at me, I just need you to know that people are lying. Because I liked Black Panther just as much as you did. I am not a racist.
Still, having watched a few YouTubers of varying opinions, I thought, why not? I'll probably touch on the movies as they're the sources for much of this, but this video is mainly about the world building. I think I've mentioned some of this before in my Wakanda Forever review. Now it's cool that people identify with this imaginary country and gain some empowerment from it. But feel it's hype over reality because not much of this world stands up to scrutiny or is particularly righteous. Straight out of the gate, let's deal with the basics. Wakanda is a hierarchical, unequal, protectionist, isolationist, nationalist, undemocratic ethno-state. That's undeniable. Many applaud its representation of African futurism, and the design is nice but equally flawed and brings up many issues. Okay, so no more prevarication, let's get into it. First and foremost, thanks to Vibranium, Wakanda is the most powerful and technologically advanced nation in the world, and probably has been since it isolated itself. This magic bullshit metal can be used as a power source for weapons, defence, medical treatments, transport, communications and technology we're barely on the cusp of. And they keep it all to themselves. The lives they could save right now, but they just hoard it. They have clean energy, but they hoard it. Worst still, all the evils heaped upon other African nations throughout history could have been stopped or avoided. The wars, slavery both internal and external, colonisation, genocides, famines. They had the power to stop it all, but chose isolation, self-preservation and to do nothing. We know this because the film tells us. Hardly a noble nation to be applauded. The irony is, the first movie makes this very clear, but people still cheer Wakanda on.
Wakanda forever.
Despite them clearly breaking the basic tenet of Marvel. With great power comes great responsibility. Or the more broadly known philosophy, all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. Next, the problem with futurism itself within the mythos. With Wakanda being an untouchable, technologically advanced megalopolis, with flying vehicles, force fields, high-powered weapons and probably the most powerful military in the world, what's the point of Black Panther? Why do they need him? Furthermore, they're hidden from the world, so again, what's the point of him? But accepting they decide to have a Black Panther, why only one? Why is T'Challa the only one who gets the powers and the best suit, while other soldiers go into battle with blankets? I guess that's how much they care about the plebs. Not so egalitarian then. I mean, even the rhinos get armour, and man was that dumb. And yet another highlighter of the progressive contradiction. They literally have an African man riding a rhino. It would be as reductive as having a Chinese man ride a dragon. Oh yeah. And let's not forget, they give Sam a suit for some reason that's never really made clear. So only T'Challa gets the most powerful suit. And then when Shuri artificially manufactures the herb, she's the only one that gets it, and gets to be Black Panther. Tradition, I hear you shout. Okay, so let's look at that tradition. The royal family pass the mantle through their lineage, and when the king dies, his heir has to engage in hand-to-hand combat with any legitimate challengers to be king. If he's beaten, the other person becomes king, gets the mantle and power, and whatever evil, crazy, world-ending scheme he has, the Wakandans will just merrily go along with it. After a millennia of hiding, this dude says we're going to burn the world, and the Wakandans say, let's get going. That doesn't seem like a stable, progressive nation to me. The challenge itself is anachronistic in the extreme. Like much of this country, it feels like it came from the minds of people who've watched too many Tarzan movies. I mean, how can you take a fight to see who will be king seriously? It belongs to far more primitive times, not a modern African nation, let alone one this advanced. It's a cultural dichotomy, and this type of thing is riddled throughout this world. The much lauded straw roofs on modern buildings. Why? When nations develop new technology, they stop using old methods. They don't make buildings out of wattle and daub anymore. I get why someone thought it would be cool, but it's dumb and anthropologically off-kilter. Reflections of the past and culture make sense with imagery and iconography and sometimes designed to evoke a bygone era. But thatched roofs on skyscrapers, come on! Spears or beating drums to raise a force field, that one speaks for itself. And this world is riddled with this stereotypical stuff. I get the feeling that if this sort of stereotyping was in another movie, the cheers would quickly turn to jeers and shouts of istophobia. But then, are stereotypes okay if they're perpetrated by the people they're about? And if the people who live in African countries aren't bothered, should I really be? Now I grant you there is some aesthetic value to the spears. After all, if they were just running around with ray guns, it would be less visually interesting and far more generic. Though equally, far more practical and less antediluvian. Back to the magic bullshit metal now that can do anything it's required at any given moment. It's plot armour to the extreme. And when you invent a world where you can just change the rules to suit and just say vibranium, then that world isn't engaging. In the comics I read growing up, T'Challa was always noble and had humility. It's why I liked him. He would run headlong into battle with evildoers even if wholly overmatched. They did get that right. Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa embodied those qualities. Probably more in Civil War, I felt. That air of nobility is far more prevalent in Civil War and Black Panther, though even there is a sense of undeserved superiority amongst other Wakandans. I appreciate you may disagree with some of my conclusions and opinions, but what's undeniable is that Wakanda could have stopped the horrors that befell African nations, but didn't. It is an isolationist ethno-state. It is undemocratic, and it is protectionist. Are those really admirable qualities to be celebrated? Aren't people railing against that stuff in current times? Or are we witness to one of the best examples of marketing hype over substance? If it wasn't blindingly obvious, morality plays a big part in my outlook when it comes to superheroes. The Wakandans have shown that by opening themselves up to trade at the end of Black Panther and holding the line against an oncoming evil. But then kind of revert to their own self-interest. So it's not the individuals, it's the world I have a problem with. And I'd be interested to know what you all think about how that plays out in relation to Wakanda, and if you think I'm expecting the impossible. So in conclusion, am I frustrated by the nature of Wakandan civilization and history, which could be argued to reflect the history of nations in the real world, ignoring the anachronisms of course, or that people seem to hold it up as a beacon of perfect virtue, with no reflection on its true nature, especially in a time when browbeating a nation for the sins of its past is de rigueur? I think it's probably the latter. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed the video. I do appreciate it. Until next time, peace out.